You're listening to This Week in E-Commerce, the Ecom Nation podcast. Dive into the top online retail headlines with your hosts, Paul Waddy and Mal Chia. Let's load up the cart. This Week in E-Commerce, episode 62. I am Mal Chia, and back with me after a bit of a hiatus is Paul Waddy. Paul, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks, Mal. 62. Every time we say that number out at the start, I'm like, wow. So I don't know why I'm always surprised, because 62 comes after 61 and so on. But I shall continue to be surprised every time you read it out.
Oh, look, I think we've been fairly consistent. And, there's a statistic that most podcasts don't even make it to like episode 10. So we are 6 times that. Although having said that, though, my favorite podcast is one called 6 Pixels of Separation, which I've been listening to. And I believe Mitch Joel is up to episode 800 or 900. And I remember listening to him back when it was like episode 100 or 200. So he's been doing this for about 15, 16 years now, which is just incredible.
OG.
That longevity. Yeah.
That's an absolute OG.
Yeah. But podcasts are absolutely booming, as you and I know. You've got your e-hustle podcast,
yep,
which you're also pretty consistent with.
Sort of. I try. Yeah.
Yeah. And how have you been, Paul? You've recently come back from a bit of a trip.
Yeah, I had a little family holiday to Hamilton Island. It was great, really good. If you haven't been there, I would recommend it. It was easy, it's fine with kids. 2 hours from Sydney. Pools and beaches and things like all the things kids love everywhere. Weather was beautiful. A few good dining options. Beautiful island as well, like absolutely stunning, and the Whitsundays around it. So yeah, that was good. But back into reality. How have you been?
I've been very good. I was away in Boston the other week, and then before that in Bali. So I've had a bit of travel as well. So last week was very much a getting back into the swing of things week. But it was good because everything is obviously ramping up as we head into Black Friday. By the time this comes out, it's the 4th of November now. It'll be the 6th of November. So chances are there'll be a bunch of sales would have started. So last week was very much just kind of getting on top of things, making sure everyone was all set for the period. And I think all in all, most of the brands who I work regularly with are very much well organized. We've got plans, we've got budgets, creative is freakishly done on time. It's like, cool, how's everything going? It's like, oh, well, tick, 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 tick. It's like we're just counting down the days now. So
well, that sounds promising. I think it'll be interesting to see who goes first. I've sort of been keeping a bit of an eye to see if I haven't been slammed yet. Have you seen anyone go off early?
I think Lucent Globe started theirs on the 1st of November, I believe. So I started getting the reminders for them to start. They're like a sustainable dishwashing and personal hygiene product company. And then Muscle Nation were pushing their sales. They are just teasing what the sales is going to be and what the discount is going to be. The interesting tactic, which I've seen Muscle Nation doing this, Riderwear doing this, and I think there's a couple of other brands who I saw, is that they're actually starting with a 50% off site-wide for like the first X number of hours. So they're just trying to like really spike like the first couple of hours, like the very, very start of the sale, and just making it as huge as they can, which I think's an interesting strategy. Personally, I never like it when you're discounting your site that amount in any case. So to see them do it for like 24 hours or 2 hours or whatever the time period is just it's a bold move. I don't know if I love it.
Yeah. I'm just looking at Muscle Nation now. Our biggest Black Friday sale ever, 50% off everything, 4 hours only. So that's out there. But it's interesting. They're not advertising the date, but it's just obviously trying to build that email list, and man, that's game on.
Yep. Yeah, I think LSKD might have done something similar to that last year as well. They obviously go really, really hard. I haven't really heard too much about what they're doing. This is all the activewear brand. Elite 11, I started seeing some ads from them the other day. But in the meantime, it's like, there's other brands that are just kind of quietly ticking along, doing business as usual and doing quite well.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. There's still a bunch who are just doing their thing and making good money, which is nice.
Yep. And how are your group feeling about Black Friday?
Um, yeah, I think there's people that are feeling a little bit underprepared. Um, but I think that's just founders feeling a bit nervous because looking from the outside in, it's just a reminder just to go through the steps. Know how much you're going to make, have your,
Mm,
how much you're going to make, what your cogs are going to be, have the promotion that matches how much you're going to make. Probably pull back a little bit off your MER to preserve a bit of profit. Make sure your, warehouse and your customer service have an idea of how many orders you're going to get. Just going through step by step by step.
yep.
There's still time just to like. I mean, I think some brands are a bit worried about their meta messaging, and that probably maybe should have started by now for some brands, like a bit of teasing out, as you said, or should be about to start. So just a lot of brands probably haven't quite split out their pre-sale messaging versus their during sale
Hmm.
messaging. So a few people wondering how to do that, but look, people are excited, I guess. So it is an exciting kind of time for people.
Yep. Clear a lot of stock, get some cash back in the old bank account. Hopefully the
Hmm.
cash doesn't just flow out the other end straight away, and you can actually keep
Yeah,
some of
that's a
that.
good reminder to keep some aside for your December freight bills in
Mm,
particular. In
yep.
particular, yeah.
Please don't buy a yacht in November. I do know of someone who went a little bit crazy in their Black Friday a couple of years back. They ended up going out and buying like a bunch of luxury cars, and then they forgot they had to pay for everything. It's like, oh man,
Yeah, there's nothing worse than forgetting, like forgetting
if
that
you have bills.
forgetting that you're on payment terms with Meta or something, and then like there's a $500,000 bill.
Yeah. They forgot, and then they very quickly had to then do another sale. I was like, oh my god! They told me this story. I was feeling for them. A part of me was also kind of laughing at the same time, going like, how do people do this?
Yeah, put some aside. That's good
Yep.
advice.
Yep, that's right. All right, we're going to get straight into the stories. We've got quite a bit going on this week, as you'd imagine. But the first we're going to talk about is a brand which we've been talking about for a little while, which is Crocs. So Crocs, Paul, have you joined the Croc brigade? Because I'm a proud owner of two or three Crocs, and I love them. Do you own Crocs yet?
My daughters do, and they are growing on me. I've got to say, like I do have to say they're growing on me. I'm a keen observer at this stage. There was a guy wearing them in the cafe yesterday. I was like, yeah, they look pretty good. Do you wear them with socks or without socks?
I do wear them with socks sometimes.
Yeah, so I
So,
would wear. I think I would wear them with socks and a pair of trackies. Yeah, I'm not there yet, Mal. I reckon I will be lured in at some point. I can see myself being lured in.
well, they are continuing to grow, and in the last quarter, they saw their sales revenue increase by 8% for Crocs. But having said that, the parent company, Crocs Incorporated, actually saw their shares plunge, not due to Crocs, but because of their investment into HeyDude, which is men's footwear. So interesting that to see that even though their main product, Crocs, continue to grow, HeyDude sales did not meet the expectations. They actually saw a 14.5% drop, which saw the Croc parent company shares being punished by a 17% decline on the back of that announcement. So, Paul, like, what do you think? Do you think that this is a wise investment? This is is something which they only purchased fairly recently in the last couple of years, but still the mothership Crocs continue to grow and grow and grow. That's kind of what I took out from it. I was less focused on the Hey Dude, but more that man, Crocs are unstoppable.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Misleading in a way. Like Crocs falls after Q4 profit, and then at the end it says strength was led by Crocs, fueled by 17% international and 8% D2C growth. So they're still obviously selling lots and lots and lots of Crocs now. I don't know what
Hmm.
HeyDude is. I've never seen it before. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I haven't seen them in Australia. I believe they're primarily in the US, but they're like men's footwear, like casual men's footwear. They don't look anything too special, but I think they must have seen something in them. There's certainly no Crocs,
They're
and you
certainly
can you
no
can
Crocs, did you say?
yeah
Yeah, I'm trying. I can't quite get on there, but oh yeah, I see him here. Hey, dude. Okay, so hey, dude's let the team down, right? So
yeah.
we've got Crocs continuing to do well. Oh, they're kind of weird. Yeah, they're kind of weird. Logo reminds me a little bit of Vans. Oh yeah, they're not my cup of tea.
Mm.
They're
But
hideous.
I guess one thing which was really interesting about this was that you saw this with last week with it's obviously earnings season in the US, and one thing which happened in Meta is that Meta saw their revenue increase 18% quarter on quarter, which for them is like phenomenal. It's like, from like $50 billion to like $60 billion was what their increase was. But they then saw their share price go down 3% because it met the expectation. It grew and it met the expectation, but then they went, okay, well, it should have beaten the expectation, so we're going to punish you with a 3% drop, which I think is wild. And I see the same thing happening here with Crocs, which met the expectation. They provided 7 to 9% sales increase in Crocs, and they delivered 8%, which is right in line with what the guidance was. And the shares were punished 17%. It's like, hang on, like Crocs is a massive business and doing really well. Are we now going to get so pedantic or negative about things that we're going to penalize things if they don't beat the expectation? The fact is, if it meets the expectation, we should be really happy.
Yeah, I think this is kind of why I think that publicly listed companies are just a different ballgame. Like, it's just so wild that you can see these guys smashing it, and they hit their goal, which I think is pretty good, and then the market's like, yeah, we kind of think that's not. They've built a rod for their own back here, being so successful. But then at the same time, you'll see notoriously unprofitable companies who exceed a sales result and are still unprofitable, and then their share price surges. But this is why investing in shares is so scary, and it's a different beast. Like it's like, should you under project and then over deliver and to manipulate the share price? It's just a completely different ballgame. Like, if you're the CEO of Crocs, like, I just think they've done such a phenomenal job, like looking at their traffic here over time in similar web, it's still surging. They've been one of the best, if not the best, retail stories over the last kind of 18 months. So share price, oh, mate, that's tough. Yeah.
Well, last 2 calendar years, Crocs, according to SimilarWeb, have been the fastest growing apparel and footwear brand in the world for 2 years running, which is quite phenomenal.
That's amazing. So get that share price up.
Yeah. And speaking of which, of share price, Amazon are probably going to see a bit of a surge. I haven't actually looked at their price lately, but they reported in the last quarter that they had a 54.5% increase in net income to $15.3 billion USD. And this is off the back of an 11% increase in net sales. That is just phenomenally huge. And that came across the board of everything, like both the e-com as well as the AWS and also the 3PL business. So all parts of Amazon are really firing at the moment.
That is wild. Like, just when we thought they couldn't get any bigger, and that they were under attack from Temu and Shein and the like, they've just gone big middle finger up. And have significantly outperformed expectations, the CEO said. Interesting to know what's driving it. I haven't really seen if it's a particular category.
Well, they did say the Prime Day deals were, like, Prime Day was the biggest Prime Day they ever had.
Yeah.
And that was in the US and Australia as well. And the interesting thing was that while they did mention that there was further threat from the likes of Shein and Temu, they actually saw the fact that they were able to offer lower cost alternatives as well. So they had a lot of their suppliers were releasing lower cost alternatives, which has helped them actually continue to be competitive in this space. And that's one of the big trends with a lot of people trading down to lower cost goods. Amazon were able to provide that. So while Temu, there's still a more trusted name than Temu, it gets delivered locally. You've got Amazon Prime. So if something's going to cost you $8 on Temu versus $5 on Temu versus $8 on Amazon, you're still probably going to buy it on Amazon because you know exactly what you're going to get, and it's going to get there tomorrow, not in 6 weeks' time.
Yeah, it's funny that the article does put it down to that as well. Basically, they've just put up a nice defense against Temu and haven't been affected. But it's also interesting to say, yeah, we're not a discounter, but we have put a special emphasis on Prime, which is probably why Prime was so enormous this year. But yeah, good on them. I mean, this is just looking at their numbers, absolutely wild. And I think from memory, we spoke about this a little while ago, but they are earlier this month, Inside Retail ran an article about them shipping items directly from Guangzhou or Guangdong in China.
That's right.
To put up a bit of a defense against the Temus and so on. But anyway, lowest fulfillment fees as well to encourage people to sell through that storefront, which is what we spoke about. Anyway, good on them. That's a killer result, and that juggernaut keeps on rolling.
Yeah, look, I got to say, I'm spending more and more time watching Amazon Prime as well. I think in the last couple of weeks, I've watched more Prime than anything else.
Interesting. Yeah, I definitely think it's gotten better over the last 12 months. And there's no question in Australia, Amazon is, from where they were a couple of years ago when people were writing them off, they're just now, I would have a package coming through every week, and I'm not the only one. I think they've done a magnificent job in Australia as well.
Great business there. All right, and a business which isn't going so well is Optus. Now, Optus have been in hot water a lot over the last couple of years, but now they are facing even more hot water with the ACCC alleging that Optus had sold telecommunications goods and services to 429 customers who did not want or need their products. So what it sounds like is that a particular Optus store in the Northern Territory took advantage of people in disadvantaged situations, and such as living with mental health issues, diminished cognitive capacity, or learning difficulties, and sold them a lot of products and plans and add-ons which they simply didn't need. Optus just cannot get it right, can they?
Yeah. So remember the last one we reported on here was what was the last one, Mal? They were the outage, and their response to the outage, which was just brutal and mean. Having a go at that small business. Can't remember who the CEO was at the time. I assume it's still the same CEO.
No. She has left.
Oh, she's left. Oh, God.
Yes.
So they've got another one and they're still getting it wrong.
Yep. Kelly Bayer Rosmarin, she resigned following that outage. So that was back in November. So the new CEO, Stephen Rue, has been in place for about a year now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, they've had a horrific 12 or 18 months, particularly in terms of PR. I have zero sympathy for them because if it's true, and it does appear to be true, then that's just horrible. It just puts them on par with those call centers that scam you, basically. So shame on Optus. That's terrible. Are you an Optus customer, Mel?
I'm not an Optus customer. I've been a Vodafone customer for forever and a day, except for a period when I went to Telstra. I think Vodafone treats you pretty well from my experience anyway. Not that there's any such thing as a great telco, I don't believe. But man, like Optus, as far as brand damage, like everything which they do, they just continue just to do more and more harm to the brand. It just goes to show how important it is to make sure that every touch point you have in your organization, whether it's a retail outpost in the Northern Territory, or someone in your call center, is really aligned with who you are as a brand, because trust can just be eroded like that, particularly with the speed at which information spreads now. You just can't afford to have any missteps.
Yeah. That's pretty horrible. Just reading it, 429 customers who didn't want or need the service. Probably a lot of those people who couldn't afford it as well. So I mean, look, it'd be interesting to see. It would, yeah, and they clawed back commissions on the deals in some instances, but didn't remediate the affected customers. So this is just horrible, really disgusting. And Optus Darwin, mate. Absolutely disgusting results. I hope the ACCC finds them through the wazoo, Mal, because this is horrible.
Yep. So look, I think the ACCC are doing a lot of really good things now. So obviously with what's happening with the supermarkets, interestingly, the supermarket defense last week, which you haven't really covered off, was that I can't remember how do they defend their pricing of the goods before sales. It was not very pleasant. Essentially blaming their suppliers for it, and saying suppliers increased the price, so we had to increase the price, and then we discounted the price, and the suppliers going, hang on, no we didn't.
Oh man, I don't think anyone's going to believe that. mate, that was like, that was one of my favorite little like gotchas in the ACCC. Yeah, you're right. They have been on fire lately, and they've done some really good work. But I didn't see that defense from the supermarkets. I'd be interested to read that. But they were caught with their pants down, jacking prices. That's the equivalent of like brands listening to this, going, "Yeah, I'll just bump up my prices 30% before cyber, and then do 30% off store wide." Well, that's exactly what they did. Like, it seems like amateur hour, but that is exactly what they did, and probably have done many times before and gotten away with it. So, yeah, I love the ACCC at the moment.
Yeah. All right, and our final story is the big one, which is Mosaic Brands. So we've been talking about Mosaic for a little while. So they finally, they unfortunately went into voluntary administration last week. They were unable to secure a restructuring deal with their partners, and are now in the hands of administrators. So I believe KPMG is the administrator there. So Paul, have you been following this one?
Yeah, and I know we've touched on this before. I don't think this is a surprise, really. Mal, at the moment, we kind of reported on this a few weeks ago. So that's Rivers, Millers, Katie's, Noni B. So they're going to continue to trade while this KPMG and FTI Consulting oversee the business. Yeah, again, just, I don't know, 3,000 jobs at risk. That's 700 store retailer around Australia. So pretty horrific. And again, feels sorry for Erica Birchall, the CEO, who took on that job and really would have just given her absolute best. And to take on such a difficult job takes a lot of guts. Yeah, I don't know where to from here. They say it's a opportunity to reshape the business. Yeah, that's what Erica's saying. Good on her, and I hope they're able to do it. But this is really just reflective of the times as well. I think, Mal, like 700 stores going down the gurgler. Well, not completely. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I think this is they've been in trouble for a long time. Going back to March, Consumer Watchdog launched, again, I assume that's ACCC, legal action against Mosaic Brands, alleging they'd breached consumer law for not delivering hundreds of thousands of products. So they weren't within timeframes, so they were slow on delivering products. They've been fined going back to 2021 and 2022 by the ACCC, $900,000 twice. So they've been in trouble for a long time. Yeah, it's a massive, maybe the biggest story of the retail year for Australian retailers. And just really feel sorry for all the people who are probably going to lose their jobs, have lost their jobs, all the landlords that would have lost money, there's just no winners here. So let's see what comes out the other side from this one after the voluntary administration. Hopefully they can salvage something, but it looks like it's a pretty messy situation.
Yeah, there was an interesting article from RMIT fashion industries expert Dr. Carol Tan, where she went into some of the reasons which she thought that Mosaic had gone into administration and was unable to pull its way out of this, considering like the writing, at least the warning signs have been there for a number of years now, so dating back to COVID. And I think what she mentioned, which was really interesting about also possibly why they've been unable to successfully restructure as well, is because of the sheer size of them and the sheer size of their retail network. They've got a retail network of 700 stores. They don't have a particularly sophisticated e-commerce offering at the moment, and because of that, they've actually been slowed down by it. They're just too big now. They're too big to actually make any quick cuts, to make any pivots to allow them to adapt to where the industry is heading. And particularly off the back of COVID and the rise of D2C in particular, and more fashion brands, and how easy it is now for people to just discover new brands and switch. They can't be nimble enough because of the size, because of their legacy brand. They can't move and shift fast enough to align with where consumer trends are going, and to essentially just keep up with the times. So I don't know what that's going to be. I'm not particularly bullish on their prospects of being able to successfully restructure, to be able to find a way out of this, considering like how much pressure they're under from every front, that even shutting down 5 stores may not be enough, or if they need to, they'll end up being a shell of their former self as far as the size of the of the company goes. So it's going to be really interesting what they're able to do with this. I don't think, and we've talked about this before, I don't think as a brand they have enough differentiated value to be able to continue, to be able to to grow out of this and emerge as a successful brand. At least at the size they are, they're going to have to really downsize, I feel, to be able to still be relevant and competitive in this market. But even then, I just think the structure of Mosaic, it just isn't aligned to where the industry is heading with nowadays.
Yeah, you'd have to think so. Like 700 stores, that's a hell of a lot of overheads. Rents have been going up, not down. Wages have been going up, not down. We know that through our discussions of Rob Godwin's kind of questioning that, like, wages are up, costs of doing business is up, particularly for brick and mortar retailers. It's interest rates are up, landlords need to put their rents up, and these guys are an old school retailer. Maybe that's why they got Erica on, who was the CEO of the Iconic, to try and be more digital and agile and light. But their costs must have been astronomical. And then we know that retail has also gone backwards a lot. Not every month, but some months. And then you would have to also say, Mal, that we see a lot of women's fashion brands pop up, maybe more than any other category. So you would have to think that probably also they've been under attack from a lot of upstart digital clothing brands that are, taking market share. I don't know that Mosaic Brands are known as a phenomenal online retailer. I definitely know they've tried. Like, they've employed people over the last few years and tried to boot their marketplace up and all sorts of different things, but it looks like they've tried to really push into online. Maybe that hasn't worked, as it hasn't for a lot of people, because it's tough out there. And then they would have, with 700 stores, they would have astronomical overhead. So you can only imagine the pressure that these guys have been under. But yeah, you'd have to think it'll have to come out the other end as a much, much asset lighter business and maybe more digital focus, but easier said than done.
Yep. So again, this is a watch this space to see what happens there. In the meantime, Mosaic continues to be at a share trading halt, trading currently at about was trading at 20 cents, which is a fraction of what they were back at COVID peak, which used to be around $3. So a sharp fall there for Mosaic. All right, Paul, that's all we have time for this week. Now, this week, we've got quite a bit coming up this week. We've got a couple of awards nights. We've got our friends at Kelly Partners doing a huge event, I saw.
We do. So we've got, where Ecom Nation's got a couple of awards nominated at the Pops Awards this week in Sydney. So fingers crossed that we get up there, and be looking forward to seeing all the other winners and so on after that. And yeah, Kelly Partners are putting on an e-commerce event. They're always really good. So if you're an e-commerce brand, you should check out what Kelly Partners do, or what Ecom Nation does as well. We do some good stuff as well. You'll be in Sydney, obviously.
I will be in Sydney, so I'll be there for the awards, as well as a few different client meetings, which will always fun. But unfortunately, departing on Thursday night before the Kelly Partners dinner.
Okay, well we'll catch up either at somewhere along the.
I'll see you at the awards or something like that.
Yeah, the awards. There'll be a dinner. There'll be something happening, but that'll be fun.
Yep. Opening of envelope. We'll be there, Paul.
We'll be there.
Yeah. All right. Have a great week. Thanks for listening in, everyone. We'll see you next week for more of This Week in E-Commerce.
Thanks, guys.